Thank you, Brian. I'm very privileged and proud and fortunate to be here today to talk to you about our 5th Wool Week. Time fairly flies by, and I remember in September 2010 getting a very abrupt email from my boss from our parent company in Bradford, Martin Curtis. Just left the campaign for Wool meeting. You have a month to get organised a Wool Week in Shetland. And his son is here today, and one thing when Martin Curtis gives you an order, then you carry it out. So, since the mid-1980s, I've been fortunate to be judging the wool on the hoof for the local Shetland Sheep Flock Book Society. So, that takes place in the middle of October, so really that gave me the idea to approach the secretary, Jim Nicholson, of the Flock Book, and it was the ideal core to set up Wool Week. After all, real Shetland wool, you need real Shetland sheep. And so Jim was just delighted and spoke to his trust, and they all approved of this idea. As a sort of a reward for their commitment, Martin Curtis, he spoke to one of the main buyers of the wool clip from us, an international bed maker, Vispring. Martin was able to get a commitment to sponsorship, and I had the pleasure of handing that out yesterday, and they sponsored the Flock Book for the prize winners. It's up to £700. So that's a good incentive for the Flock Book. So that was one sort of project to start Wool Week. The next one, I was very fortunate that we were working with the Amenity Trust and the museum, and we are working on the revival of Shetland lace. And he's not here today, but Jimmy Moncrief, I'd heard of the man. His father taught me at the Lerwick Central, but he called me to his office one day and he said, I want you to look at this DVD. And this was him in India, and he was seeing a lady trying to revive handmade silk in India. And I said, so what do you want to me? And he says, well, I would like to revive Shetland lace knitting. And I said, well, that's a huge task. Number one, you don't have the knitters, and we need to get a yarn similar to the original handspin. He said, not a problem, and Jimmy, people know, he hits his desk and you get on with it. So, cut a long story short, with the help of Curtis Wool Direct, and primarily Martin Curtis, who had the last common plant in the whole Bradford and the whole of the UK, we produced a wusset. A wusset is a worsted yarn. It's not woolen spun, and it's a more even, smoother fibre, and it was used in the late 1800s by a Shetland lady to make Queen Victoria's stockings. This information I took off the museum archives website. So, getting together with Jimmy, that was a major breakthrough. We were going to launch that project in December that year, and Emma was one of the people in charge. She had to bring it forward to the middle of October and tied it in with the Flock Book. So we actually got royal approval of the success of Wool Week. It started. There were very few visitors because we did not have time to market it or promote it. And when I look here today, I'm just stunned by the amount of people involved and the people from all around the world. So, Wool Week, and Brian touched on this, Wool Week is not only promoting Shetland wool throughout the world, it's doing something in 47 years that I've noticed, it's doing something that no other organisation has done. It's brought together the Shetland textile people and as he says, the crofters. And the crofters, I was doing the judging on the wool on the hoof yesterday, then even the most doer of the crofters was acknowledging Wool Week, and they do appreciate Wool Week. I would just like to take this opportunity to pay tribute to a dear old friend of Wool Week, Eric Wilson, who sadly passed away after his trip to Shetland after last year's Wool Week. Eric was very, very keen on supporting Shetland Wool. He was the secretary of the campaign for wool, and he was a past master of the Worshipful Company of Woolmine. Eric first visited us in 2010, and he always paid his own way here. Shetland Wool Week didn't have to pay, the campaign for wool didn't have to pay, and he was a real character. I remember with a lot of fondness, and it tickles me that Roxanne was carrying out a Luminous Yarns project down at the Body Grimester, and that's now the Textile Museum, and no doubt you'll all go there. And this was on a particularly cold night. I picked him up from his hotel and took him, and we got involved in Luminous Yarns. And it was Kushla from the museum that came to me after about an hour and said, "I think you should go and look to your friend, his face is blue." So I went and found Eric, and I said, "It's rather cold," and we were right down at the sea, and it was an onshore wind. So I got him in the car and took him back to the hotel, and he didn't complain. He was just full of praise for the diversity of Wool Week. He was really delighted with his evening. Another event that he attended with me, and it was the first time he was up, and I was doing the judging the wool and the hoof. He came into the ring, and I see Ronnie here, and he can tell you that the auction ring and the crofters of the flock book, when you're in there, it's like being a gladiator in an arena. They are very serious, a lot of them are very glum looking at you. And Eric nudged me and he said, "Can I talk to them?" And I sort of gave a smile and said, "Well, it can be a bit difficult." Eric stood and he launched into his talk, and I've never heard it. I heard it yesterday, but I've never heard it before. There was a round of applause by the crofters, so he made an impression on them. So we'll really miss him. And personally I miss him because he gave us a lot of support. Before I finish, I'd like to thank some people. As the main buyers of the Shetland Wool Club, approximately 80%, I would like to thank two of our main customers for travelling to Shetland and help support our Wool Week. And one is the Real Shetland Company, Adam Curtis, and Vispring, who is sponsoring the flock book. We need private business to come in and get interested in Shetland wool. I would like to thank the Amenity Trust, and I'm not going to single people out, but the museum and Promote Shetland for all the work they do. But Emma has done an awful lot of work through the years, and I think she deserves a round of applause. And Brian again touched on this. This event is proof that the public bodies and the trade can work together in staging such a prestigious event. Finally, I would like to close by thanking you, the visitors, for supporting our event and celebrating one of the finest fibres in the world, real Shetland wool. Thank you. And I would introduce Hazel Tyndall, the fastest knitter in the world.